recording. I'm going to do the same bit I did last time and see if the cold open seemed to work. I'm liking the cold open, and there it is. All right. See, yeah, it says as soon as it starts recording, it's like, oh, yeah, it's been recording for 5 seconds already. I know that isn't the case. So we're recording. That means we're live. How's it going, folks? What's in the box score? Episode 3. Took a week off last week. Rick was on the IL. Had some back and shoulder issues.
Wasn't
Only
my
missed
back.
one start.
It was my shoulder. A 3-year-old beat the living shit out of me. My shoulder was killing me. Did not have it in me to sit down for an hour and talk baseball.
That
needed to
perfectly
ice,
fair.
Needed to rest. And then I got to do it again the other day, and he beat me up again, but the shoulder held up.
Oh, good. You see, that's the thing that counts here is the shoulder held up. You know, that's the thing. Once you tear muscles, they come back stronger. So it's like, yeah, you got beat up, and now this time you were ready for it.
3rd-degree separation of this shoulder in a non-sports capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kind of a sports capacity when I was in college. And it's never quite been the same since. No matter how much strengthening I do, a 3-year-old playing Three Little Pigs, he's the big bad wolf and I'm the house, falling on a couch 50 times, that'll do it.
Yeah, only missed one start. Rick's a trooper. We're back. Your favorite baseball show on Sports War Radio is back. Shout out Sports War Radio.
Yes.
We may be the only baseball show on Sports War, but we are your favorite baseball show on Sports War.
And if we're not, we damn well sure should be.
I agree. I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. So, break down what we're doing today. We got a couple of managerial hires that we're going to get into, and then my Super Bowl, if you will, breaking down the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot, who we think should get in, who are personal, very official ballots that we send into the BBWAA, and then we get them right back in the mail. We're going to explain who we've got on there as well. So we'll start, I say, with the bigger managerial hire, and that's Buck Showalter. Buck is officially the manager of the Mets. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. We're like, how the hell do you hire anybody but Buck Showalter? Uncle Stevie listened. You know, he listened to the boys. He knew that we were right. And Steve, we know you're listening again this week. Thank you for not giving us credit, but we accept the credit for that.
Yes, we accept the credit, and we'll accept any financial incentives you want to throw our way for the info.
Please, if the New York Mets want to sponsor this podcast, I'll be the biggest Mets fan on the planet.
Hey, look, my fandom is up for grabs right now. Yankees brought back Aaron Boone, so I'm on the market.
Rick's a free agent for a new team. All right, so yeah, they hired Buck. Doesn't get much more obvious than that, in my opinion. Max Scherzer was like, I want this guy to manage the team. Usually I'm against your big stars making decisions like this, but I feel like this was the right decision in the long run anyway, so I'm fine with them going with Max on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that roster and what they did. They added Max Scherzer. They added Starling Marte. They added Mark Canha. The guys that they added, thrown in with who they have, this is a win-now team. This is a team that's building for 5 years from now. They're ready to win right now. You go and you get the guy who has the most experience. And people are going to say, well, Buck Showalter never actually won the World Series. His teams, got there the year after he left. Guess what? They don't get there in the first place unless Buck Showalter puts the pieces in place.
Yep.
And unless Buck Showalter is guiding them there. So the managers that won, including Joe Torre, they did so the first time on the heels of what Buck Showalter did. It's like in college, right, where you have a coach who leaves and the next coach comes in and the team, wins. If college basketball, for example, they win 25 games, go 25-3. It's not because this new coach is great. It's because the guy that was before him put all the pieces in place.
Yeah. You got some returning guys. You got a new recruiting class coming in that the last coach put together. This is a no-brainer. The Mets didn't overthink it. They got it right. Thank God. It's going to make for interesting baseball should we actually have baseball. And Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's the right hire. I think he's the perfect manager for this team because Buck is as no nonsense, no bullshit as it gets. And
Absolutely.
if you're gonna manage a team like the New York Mets with some of the personalities on that team, I love Frankie Lindor. I love a lot of the pieces on the Mets. There's some personalities on that team. Even Pete Alonso's a huge personality. Like,
Yeah, but I think that also goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the players that they've already signed, the veterans that they brought in. These
yeah,
are guys that are going to lead that clubhouse.
yes,
This is no longer Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso's clubhouse.
no.
This is Max Scherzer's clubhouse. This is Starling Marte's clubhouse.
hmm
This
Even
is not.
Eduardo Escobar has been around. Like, he's
Thank
been
you.
around the league.
That was
He's
another guy I couldn't think of, but
yeah.
yeah,
He's played for like 4 different teams now, I think. Like,
you know,
he's been around, he's been in different clubhouses, seen it all. So he's going to be a guy I think that a lot of the guys will look up to.
and let's not forget, Jacob deGrom wants to win. He's tired of this shit.
He's tired of going 500 with a 1.3 ERA.
Yeah, so like it's going to be no nonsense in that clubhouse. Yes, they'll have fun. Yes, they'll do what what ball players do. But game day, it's about we're going to win this game. We're going to beat the shit out of the other team.
And it was funny because Manny Machado commented on this, who folks might not. Manny Machado is my least favorite player in baseball. I can't stand that fucking guy because he ruined Dustin Pedroia's career, and I will never forgive him for that. But I just think he's a dirty player. I think he's a jerk. Like everything about Manny Machado, he's a hell of a ball player. I will never deny him that. But I just like nothing about his personality. And he was like, Buck Showalter was the biggest mentor I had.
And he wasn't the only one. There were a bunch of guys that came out and just said, I owe everything I have to Buck.
Yeah. And so if a guy like that, who's very high profile, obviously signed that huge deal with San Diego, he's a superstar, really. An underappreciated superstar, in my opinion. Not enough people talk about him because Tatis gets all the attention. But when a superstar player like that comes forward and he's like, yeah, this guy was my biggest mentor and he made me the man I am today, I'm just like, yeah, he's the perfect guy to manage the Mets. So great hire there. And there was one more, which I believe you predicted a couple weeks ago. You said that the A's were going to stick with Mark Kotsay.
It was the only thing that made sense to me. I mean, no offense to the other guys that were in running. Mark Kotsay's there. The A's aren't looking to win right now. We don't even know what the roster is going to look like because is Matt Olson going to be there? Is Matt Chapman going to be there? Is Frankie Montas? Like, we have no idea who's going to be on this roster come opening day. So stick with the guy that knows some of the guys in the clubhouse that will be there. You know, stick with the guy who can learn as he goes. And it's not like he has no experience. Sure, he hasn't been a big league manager, but he's been on the coaching staff. He's been in the dugout, and he's not that far removed from playing. And that carries some weight. I mean, a former player carries weight when he's the one leading the team.
For sure.
Look at the Cubs with David Ross. You know, I mean, David Ross again, not far removed from playing, and I mean, he's friends with some of the guys in the clubhouse, but it's not we're buddies anymore. It's I'm the boss, and we got to do things the right way, and it may not lead to immediate success, but we're going to get there eventually if we just stick with the plan, and that's what Kotsay's going to do. He's going to put a plan in place.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of David Ross, I don't think he gets enough credit for how good of a manager he is. I think he's a really good manager who got put in a really shitty situation this year because everyone and their sister knew that the Cubs were going to sell everybody, and he was still trying to win with that team in the first half of the year, even though everyone knew that Bryant was gone, Rizzo was gone, Baez was gone. And they weren't great, but he was really trying his hardest, and I really think he got put in a shit situation. And I love Rossi. Like, I've been a fan of his since he was on the Sox and even before then. But I think he got put in a shit situation. I think you put him in a good situation, he's going to be a hell of a manager because I see him sticking around for a long time.
No, I agree. And let's be honest. I mean, the fact that they won 71 games with zero pitching,
incredible.
They had no pitching.
Yeah.
And the Cubs may not be that far off from being a respectable team. I'm not going to say a contender, but they're making moves. The moves that they made. I mean, you go out, you sign Marcus Stroman to a big deal. That's not what a rebuilding club does.
Yeah.
They're retooling. They're not going to contend. But then again, you look at that division. I mean, Cincinnati's selling off. Pittsburgh is trash. What Milwaukee? They have the three big arms and the corpse
That
of
offense
Yelich.
stinks. Yeah, Christian Yelich was great for 2.5 years and then fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, I mean, Keaston Ura was supposed to be the guy, and he's not.
I was so in on him. Like when
so
he was drafted,
I drafted him in all my fantasy leagues.
Yeah, but when he was drafted by the Brewers, I was like, this guy's going to be the next Robinson Cano. I was like, he's going to hit 310 with 30 home runs. He's going to be legit. And he came up and he hit like 10 home runs in his first month and just never hit a baseball again.
Yeah, like I wasn't so sure about the power with him, but I just thought this is a professional hitter. Guy knows how to hit, knows how to get on base. And like let the other guys in the lineup, drive him in. He's just going to be an on-base machine who hits, 310, 320, something like that. And even if he's just a singles doubles guy, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But he's not that guy, or at least he hasn't been so far.
But yeah, the Brewers I think can be had. The Cardinals are an interesting team to me.
The Cardinals are like that pain in the ass that you just can't get rid of.
Yeah, exactly.
They're never overpowered. Like they're not overpowering, but they just don't really have a huge weakness. I mean, sure, the pitching staff isn't tremendous, but it's not bad.
Good enough.
And when you have Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, in the heart of your lineup, you're gonna put runs on the board.
They're just one of those teams that next year, if the Cardinals win 80 games, I'd be like, yeah, that seems about right. If the Cardinals win 98 games, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Goldschmidt, Arenado, of course.
Yeah, like if the Cardinals win 70 games, then it's like, whoa, something's wrong here.
Yeah, but between 80 and 100 games, I'm like, yeah, that's the Cardinals.
Yeah. I mean, anything above 500 we expect. Anything below 500 would be surprised.
Yeah.
But really, so you have the Cardinals and maybe the Brewers. So at worst, the Cubs should finish third in that division.
I agree. Yeah. But anyway, back to Oakland, because we got off on a massive tangent there. I think Mark Kotsay is a good hire. I sort of did a deep dive on him after they hired him because I remember Mark Kotsay playing and I remember watching him, but I didn't remember much. It's not like he got a ton of attention. He was a pretty damn good ball player.
Yeah, he was just a solid guy. He was he wasn't a superstar. He was just a hard-nosed ball player, put his head down, played the right way. And managers want those kind of guys on their team.
He had 20 outfield assists his rookie year. I'm like, holy shit.
Did he really? I didn't know that. I knew he was a good fielder. I didn't realize he was that good.
Yeah, I knew he was a good fielder. I'm reading about him, and they're like, yeah, it was like Mark Kotsay and Ichiro had the strongest arms in baseball. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, see, that's something. Ichiro didn't have a strong arm. He just got rid of the ball so freaking fast that it looked like he had a cannon.
Yeah.
Ichiro's arm wasn't incredibly strong. Like Jesse Barfield had a strong arm.
Yes.
Aaron Judge has a strong arm.
He's got a cannon, dude. When he makes those throws in the second base every once in a while, and it's like, oh yeah, that was 98 miles an hour.
Yeah, but Ichiro, he would throw 104 miles an hour, but it wasn't because he had this gigantic Popeye-like right arm. That's because he was throwing the ball before he caught it.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like the Kotsay hire. Like you say, he's been with the organization since 2016, serving as the bench coach. So knows a lot of these guys. And that's an organization that has a ton of movement. Generally.
And the thing I liked about what I was reading about his interview process, which, I mean, at this point, maybe it was a sham. Maybe it was just for show. Who knows? Yeah. But the GM came out and was like, yeah, he walked into the interview like we'd never met him. He walked in like it was a legitimate job interview.
Yeah.
And, hello, Mr. Forrest. Nice to meet you. Blah, blah. Like it wasn't like, hey guys, how you doing?
He didn't walk in like Billy.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't fist bumping bumping everybody. Saying, so where are we going for drinks after this? So like he's approaching it the right way. And look, I mean, the A's are a kind of team that every year we think they're going to stink, and every year they're just there.
I've been saying the A's are done for 3 years now. Never happens.
Yeah, they always find a way to. I mean, are they going to overtake Houston? Probably not.
They could.
But yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's enough guys on that team. Now, granted, if they trade everyone, then no, it's not possible.
Yeah.
If they get rid of Chapman and they get rid of Olsen and they trade away some of that pitching, then no, there's no chance. They will probably be a last place team.
Mm-hmm.
But if they keep what they've got, stranger things have happened.
They're interesting. I might be the biggest Ramon Laureano fan on the planet. I think that guy's like.
I was until he cheated, and now I was just like, screw this guy.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about the PED suspension.
Because that just makes me think like, all right, you're just a fraud.
Well, I've thought that about some guys, and then they prove me wrong. I was like that with Nelson Cruz after he got busted. I was like, yeah, this dude's a front, and then he just kept hitting 40 home runs a year, and I was like, okay, never mind, this guy's just a really good hitter.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at Laureano. I mean, his numbers, they're just like, you can see.
Yeah.
Like, all right, this is a ridiculous jump. Like, Laureano reminds me of Brady Anderson, who was before your time.
Oh, I know plenty about Brady.
Oh, no,
I
know you do because you're a baseball psychopath.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, Brady Anderson, out of nowhere, he was like, okay, 17 home runs, 15 home runs, solid ball player, kind of like a Kotze. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, 51 home runs. Like, where the fuck did that come from? And it's like, why are his arms bigger than, like, his thigh?
I love looking at steroid era just numbers, like going on Baseball Reference and looking at like Juan Gonzalez in 1996. I'm just like, this is great. 49 home runs, 172 RBIs.
He had like 112 RBIs at the All-Star break. It was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you look at guys like Cecil Fielder, and it's like, all right, there's no steroids there. He's just a big, strong dude.
He was just massive.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that they constantly show on MLB Network is when Cecil took Dan Plesac out of Tiger Stadium. Oh, yeah. Very funny to me. They're just like, hey, Dan, remember this? And then Cecil hits one 540 feet. He's like, yes, I remember that. I threw the ball.
Yeah, of course I remember. You just showed it to me yesterday.
Yeah. So, speaking of steroid era guys, it's time to get into the Hall of Fame ballot. Now, I'm going to preface this, which I don't know if I've mentioned this to you. My thought on steroid guys. If you failed a test, I will never vote for you. If you never served a suspension, never failed the test, it's fair game. Because for me, like 2005 is that cutoff. If you did it before then, before there was any sort of testing or suspension and it's all hearsay, I don't really care. Like, I'm fine with Bagwell. I'm fine with Pudge Rodriguez. I'm fine with Piazza. Like, these are all guys that it's like, yeah, they pretty much definitely did steroids. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. I mean, I would argue with you about those three. But, yeah, I mean, because I personally think they were Hall of Famers regardless of the suspicion. But fine. I mean, if those are your parameters, those are your parameters. That's fine. I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, but I'm just because I know you, like you just said about Laureano, it's like, yeah, that guy's a cheater. Like, I'm assuming you're very anti-steroid.
Maybe, but we'll see. We'll see where we go here.
So I guess just, I said I've got 10 people. You said you've got 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, so, all right, well, since we're on the steroid topic, Bonds is on my ballot.
But no Clemens.
I didn't say no Clemens. I just said Bonds was on my ballot.
Yes, Bonds is on mine as well.
Bonds is on my ballot because before 1999, which is when I am going to say that's when he started using steroids.
That's when the bulk up happened, yeah.
He was already a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. At that point, he was 400. He already had, I just lost it. Son of a bitch. At that point, he had 411 home runs, 445 stolen bases, 966 OPS. Like, the guy was a Hall of Famer before he did steroids, which makes the fact that he did steroids all the more ridiculous.
It's like, infuriating.
You didn't need them. You didn't fucking need them, Barry. Yeah, I mean, he's a 9-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glover, 3-time MVP before steroids. Okay. Yeah, you're in the Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Then, because you wanted to play an extra 10 years and break the record that nobody acknowledges, you screwed it all up. And you looked like a cartoon character in the process with your gigantic Michael K-like head.
he, it's hilarious looking at like his 1998 baseball card and his 2000 baseball card. It's like, that's not the same person. It's just clearly not the same person. I think it was a Paul McCartney with the Beatles situation. Real Barry Bonds got hit by a car and they just subbed him in with this other guy who knew how to hit baseballs.
Yeah, well, it's like, you ever see the Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns has all the ringers on the team?
Yeah, trust me, Homer at the bat is my favorite Simpsons
when Ken
episode.
Griffey Jr.'s head, like,
he's got gigantism.
Yeah, he's got gigantism, and he looks like a walking human bobblehead. Like, that was Barry Bonds after steroids.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've got hanging up over there. They had a celebration at the Hall of Fame a few years ago for Homer at the bat.
Nice.
And my dad and I were like, we need to go to this. And so I've got just over here. Yeah, I'll just grab it. It's right there. This is great for the people who listen to the podcast.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I've got a commemorative towel with
wow,
Homer.
that is awesome. That's so cool.
Wearing the Hall of Fame uniform. It's got the Hall of Fame logo on it and stuff. It was the I want to say the 30th, or not 30th. It was probably the 25th anniversary of Homer at the Bat first airing. And like Steve Sachs was there, Ozzie Smith was there. They had a bunch of guys come in that were like on the team in The Simpsons, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever been to.
Well, I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, and you should, Rick Wiener NY, the Springfield Isotopes ringer team photo is my picture, and it has been for years.
When we first started, like when I first like knew you when you were coming on the Man-Child show, and I followed you on Twitter, that was like the first thing I was like, oh hell yes. I'm a massive Simpsons fan, and so I see a Simpsons profile picture and I'm like, this is the greatest guy ever. But yeah, Bonds is on my ballot.
Bonds, yeah.
Listen, it's one of those things, all right? Like you said, he was a Hall of Famer before steroids, so that's part of why I think he should get everyone's vote. Second of all, he's got 762 home runs. Like, it's just one of those things. I think Pete Rose should be in. I think Bonds should be in. Like, if you're the all-time leader in a category like that, I tend to look the other way anyway, unless, like I said, you did serve a suspension, and that's why, like, A-Rod will not be on my ballot, because I will never vote for him. Like,
well, I would never vote for A-Rod, just because I have no idea when he started using them. For all I know, he was doing steroids in middle school. Like, I have no clue.
Like, the thing with him is they said, like, 2002, I believe he admitted, was when he started using it in that Katie Couric interview.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think A-Rod's full of shit. I don't believe a word he says, so I can't take him at his word.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at the tracker, the Hall of Fame ballot tracker from Mr. Tibbs, Ryan Thibodeau.
My favorite thing to look at this time of year.
He's one of my favorite people on Twitter. If you're not following him, you should be. It's at not Mr. Tibbs, Tibbs. Anyway, as of what time is this? 2:25 this afternoon. No, I'm sorry, 1:25 this afternoon. Barry Bonds is at 76.8% of the vote. So he's in.
Mm-hmm. Which I expect that to go down. I don't think he's going to get in.
I agree, but right now that's where he's at. So as we go along, I'll try and throw these out.
Yeah. But yeah, just like you look at the baseball reference page, and like I said, even if you want to do like you do, Rick, the prior to 1999, it's like, oh yeah, a couple of 40 home run seasons, a lot of 100 RBIs, a lot of 30 to 50 stolen bases. Led the league in walks 5 times before he even touched a needle. Like, that's the other thing. The plate discipline with him was always there. People are like, oh yeah, he got intentionally walked a bunch because they were scared of roided up Bonds hitting one into the bay. No, he was always a very patient hitter and always had a great eye and took a lot of walks.
Yeah, so, I mean, and just looking at that period, I mean, 5 30-30 seasons, a 40-40 season. As a matter of fact, he never had a year where he hit less than 16 home runs or swiped fewer than 17 bases.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 1986 to 1998. That's a 13-year period.
Yeah, so easy I personally, he should have just been in on the first ballot anyway, because, like, yeah, just look at the first half of his career when he was the same size as me.
Yeah,
Like,
but the problem is that he's also a dick, and I think the
yeah,
voters hold that against him. Like, he's just not a likable guy.
yeah. I wrote an article a few years ago about the character clause, and I was looking at some guys that I think like it really affected them, and it was like Jim Edmonds, uh, Bonds and Clements, I think, not because of the steroids, but because they're also pricks. And like that's what I was looking at. I was like, yeah, he would like fight his own teammates. There was that one time he got into a fight with Jeff Kent just in the dugout. Like he was
Well, also
just an
because
asshole.
Jeff Kent's also an asshole. So I
Yes,
mean,
he is. Which I also think is why he's not in the Hall of Fame.
yeah.
Uh,
All right. So
so
I know you have more than I do. So we've already hit on Bonds. Who's next on your ballot?
I'll do one I don't think you have. Bobby Abreu.
Oh no. No.
I've sort of like I was out on Bobby Abreu at first, and I was like, come on, it's Bobby Abreu. Like, are we really talking about this guy? Then I look at the numbers. I mean, we're talking about 291 average, 395 on base. Like, this is a guy that walked 100 times just every year of his prime. Average 99 walks per 162 games. He's got 574 doubles. Like, I love doubles. I think doubles is a very underrated stat. Like, if it weren't for doubles, guys like Craig Biggio, like, wouldn't have had a great career. Like, I think being a doubles hitter, you're still hitting extra base hits, you're still driving in runs. I think that's a very underrated thing. And Abreu, yeah, it's like 288 home runs for a right fielder. Yeah, two-time All-Star. It's like those don't pop out. 1,300 RBIs, 574 doubles, 400 stolen bases, 290 with a 395 on base, and an 870 OPS in his career. This guy's a hell of a player.
He's a very, very good player, and I understand why you would vote for him. I can't get there. He was never the fact that he's a two-time All-Star. That matters to me. That means that he really wasn't that spectacular that anyone was like, wow, he's awesome. A one-time Gold Glover, so it wasn't like he was a spectacular fielder. I love doubles too. I love guys that get on base. I don't care if it's a single, double, or walk, like whatever. It's not just power numbers that matter. But I mean, he doesn't check enough boxes. He's in the Hall of Very Good. He's not a Hall of Famer.
It's also I like to look at the like the Hall of Fame stats on Baseball Reference, and I do a lot of comparing between if it wants to work on my phone. Between different guys. All right, the web page not available. Bullshit.
Yeah, no, he's. I have it up.
Yeah, I've got it here. He's 20th all time in terms of just like all the cumulative Hall of Fame stats.
Yeah,
he's
ahead
of
fielders. Yeah.
Yeah, for right fielders, he's ahead of Vlad Guerrero and Enos Slaughter and Tony Oliva, who just got in. Like, there's a lot of guys he's ahead of where it's like, yeah, these are Hall of Famers. And when Vlad got in, I was like, yeah, surefire Hall of Famer. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero.
Vlad was a no-brainer, but he was also talking about a guy with a cannon.
Oh,
Vlad could throw a guy out in Seattle from Miami.
But
and it wouldn't even be on the hop. Like, it would be on the fly.
It's right into the catcher's mitt. It's just a strike.
Yeah, and the ball would be in the mitt before you rounded second base.
And he's also behind guys that are either going to be in the Hall of Fame or I think should be, like Dwight Evans. Like, I think Dwight Evans should be in the Hall of Fame too. And he doesn't, like, to be quite honest, Dwight Evans is quite a bit better than him in these statistics.
And he's not in, and that's kind of damning. And then, I mean, talking, since we both love Baseball Reference, and you look at some of the similarity scores for his career. Luis Gonzalez, he's not a Hall of Famer. Bernie Williams, whether I think he should be or not, he's not in. Dwight Evans is number 3 on the list. Garrett Anderson, he's not a Hall of Famer. Torrey Hunter, he's not a Hall of Famer. Like, it's, again, he's in the Hall of Very, Very Good, but he's not a Hall of Famer. I can't get there. Gotta go to you on that one.
And that's fair. Like, I think he'll probably fall off the ballot these coming years. I
And
don't know
he
how much
is,
support he's getting.
right now, he is at 16.1%. So he's got enough where he's still
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, he
Uh,
might not fall off the ballot, but I don't think he'll get
and
in.
that's actually almost double what he got last year.
Oh,
Last
okay.
year,
So,
last year he had 8.7% on the final ballots once they were official.
mhm.
So, I mean, you have to assume he's not going to maintain 16%. He's going to drop a little bit, but he should maintain enough to stay on the ballot for another year.
Yeah, usually with the ballot tracker, you see a 3 to 5% drop once all the ballots are
Yeah,
submitted.
yeah.
Um,
He'd need to be on 85% of the remaining ballots to get in.
yeah. So very much not going to get in this year. We'll see if he ever gets in. I've last year I really like took a deep look at him and I was like, wait a minute, this guy is a lot better than I remember him being, which I think there's something about that too. It's weird how much memory and public perception goes into this. Like, there are certain guys where, yeah, you watch them, like Derek Jeter. It's like, yeah, that's a fucking Hall of Famer. I know a Hall of Famer when I see one. But there are some guys I feel like it does need like a closer look at really everything they did, and I think Bobby Abreu falls into that category.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I just he was never one of the best players in the game. He was always just a really good player, but he was never great. And
Hmm.
like, to me, the Hall of Fame is very exclusive.
Yeah, that's
And
fair. I'm more of a big Hall guy
yeah, now
than.
see, I'm more of a like it's exclusive. Like you really
Mhm.
have to be somebody or done something special to get in. And he's at the front of he's on the line,
Mhm.
but I don't think he's getting past the bouncer.
All right, so who's next on your ballot?
It's Clemens.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
Clemens.
Clemens is
I
on
don't
mine as well.
I don't want to vote for Clemens, but if
No,
I'm voting for Bonds, I have to vote for Clemens.
the people who vote for one or the other really piss me off. There's no way you can say this guy is more of a Hall of Famer than that one. Bonds has 7 MVPs. Clemens has 7 Cy Youngs. Like, they're either 1, 2, or 3 in major categories at their respective positions.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
but people forget Clemens won the Triple Crown. He won Cy Young and MVP in the same year. He
mhm,
won back-to-back Cy Youngs in 86 and 87. He
yeah,
had 3 Cy Youngs under his belt because with Clemens, you look at his numbers, just like I did with Bonds. Now, Bonds, we have a pretty good idea when he started. It was 90, 98, 99.
mhm.
Clemens, I'm saying when he left Boston, that's when he started. When he
That
got to Toronto, that's when he started to shoot up.
that's pretty
So
much the consensus. Yeah.
so you look at his numbers when he was in Boston, 192 and 111, 3.06 ERA, 1.15 WHIP, almost 2,600 strikeouts, 3 Cy Youngs, an MVP, five All-Star appearances. Amazingly enough, the 1987 when he won his second consecutive Cy Young, he wasn't an All-Star. Um,
It's so
two
weird when that happens.
back-to-back 20 win seasons, 3 20 win seasons in that stretch altogether.
Hmm.
I mean, he was, and if you know anything about baseball, you know Roger Clemens was dominant. I mean,
Yeah.
Roger Clemens was a nasty, nasty
You,
pitcher.
you don't earn the nickname the Rocket as like a 22-year-old unless you're filthy.
And then, of course, I mean, you have Susan Waldman's greatest call of all time. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I somewhat know the call. I think I know the call you're referring to.
This was, I forget which, this was in '07, when everyone thought that Clemens was done.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and, oh my God, Roger Clemens is in George Steinbrenner's box. And that's a terrible Boston accent, but damn it, that's what you're getting. Like, that was the best call I've ever heard. It was better than
Yeah.
a game she's ever called. It was just, she was losing her shit because Clemens was at the stadium talking
Hmm.
to George Steinbrenner about coming back. And he did. And he was, okay, he was 6-6 with a 4.18. But he was also 44 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
He was my age, and I can't play fucking three little pigs. You think I can go out and make 18 starts in the big leagues right now? Not a chance. I'm going to be 45 tomorrow. There's even less of a chance.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's also one of those things. I'm a big peak guy when looking at the Hall of Fame, and that's the stretch I look at for Clemens. 86 is one of the 5 best pitching seasons of all time. Probably. Like, what he did in 86 for the Red Sox is unbelievable. He had the 20 strikeouts in there, 20 strikeout game in there. Like you said, Cy Young, MVP.
I know it wasn't the same year, but he did the 20 strikeout thing twice.
Yeah, but the first one was in 86.
Yeah.
And so it's like, 86 is one of those seasons it's special. It's a really special season. And throughout the mid to late 80s, early 90s, it was like, yeah, this guy's just Nolan Ryan. We're looking at the second Nolan Ryan. They're both from Texas.
Except he was a better pitcher than Nolan Ryan.
Yes.
And since we were talking about similarity scores before, I'm looking at Clemens here. The top 10 are all Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Randy Johnson, Greg Maddux, Tom Seaver, Steve Carlton, Don Sutton, Warren Spahn, Tom Glavine, Kid Nichols, John Clarkson, and Tim Keefe.
That's
all Hall of Famers.
Pretty good list.
Yeah, like those are the similar pitchers to Roger Clemens. Like, love him, hate him, think he's a piece of shit, whatever. The guy's a Hall of Famer. He belongs in the Hall, and he is at 76.8%, just like Bonds. So he too looks to be on track to get in.
I hope it's their last year on the ballot. Like I said, I don't think they'll get in, but I sort of really hope they do.
I mean, and this is a very small sample size, like Mark's talking about. Abreu was on 9 ballots that we know of. Bonds and Clemens both on 43.
Yeah, so it's very small sample size. There's still like 300 some odd ballots to come in.
Yeah, what is that? Like 4? There's we have 58 total ballots in on the tracker so far, and there's like 435.
Oh, so yeah, 400 almost.
Yeah, so it's actually like almost 400 left.
Yeah. My next guy, again, I don't know if you're gonna have him, is Todd Helton.
Okay, convince me, because I go back and forth on Helton.
So the thing with Helton is I personally don't take a lot of Coors Field stock. Like, I don't buy into that a lot. Obviously it does make you better. I feel a bad baseball player is a bad baseball player no matter where he goes. I think does it boost up your numbers a little bit? Yeah. I think you're pretty damn good anyway if you put up the numbers that Helton did in Coors Field. I mean, we're not talking about a guy that, on the road hit 220 or anything like that. I'm trying to get the splits up right now.
I have them up if you want them.
Yeah, I've got them here too. So on the road, and he played his entire career in Colorado, 287 average, 386 on base, 469 slugging, good for an 855 OPS. 142 home runs, so the power was down, RBIs were down. But the thing is, those are really good numbers. They're not Hall of Fame numbers, but they're really good numbers. And also, the thing about playing on the road when you're coming from Colorado, you play 82 games in that ballpark. It is a bigger adjustment leaving Colorado than it is any other ballpark, just because of the air quality that you're used to playing in.
That's a good point.
So it's a much bigger adjustment, and nobody hits better on the road than they do at home anyway.
Very few.
Yeah. So you look at the home numbers, and it's like, yeah, he hit 345 at home with a 607 slugging. It's like, yeah, that's boosted a little bit by Coors. And I feel the road numbers are taken down a bit by the fact that he had to readjust every single time he went to a new ballpark to legitimately the air quality. He was like, yeah, this air is much better than the air I usually breathe. And so I feel that if you average those out, you still get a Hall of Fame player. That's sort of my thing on Helton is it's like, you can boost those road numbers up a bit, I think, to like a 295 hitter, and you can take those road numbers down to like a 310 hitter. And it's like, yeah, that's
he's still a 300 hitter.
Yeah, he's still a 300 hitter. He's still a really good first baseman. He didn't get enough credit for how good of a defensive first baseman he was. He was really good. I know he won at least one Gold Glove.
He won
three, and honestly could have won more. This guy was a really solid first baseman. And you look at, his best years. He didn't win MVP in 2000, but probably should have. He had 372 with 42 home runs, 147 RBIs, and 59 doubles. Like, pretty impressive. And he had the peak. He wasn't a huge power guy for a lot of his career, but he was never that slugger type. He was more of I don't want to say slap hitter, but he was
he was a hitter.
Yeah, he was just a great hitter, found a lot of gaps. He would hit a home run, when he could. Like, he had a lot of power, but he wasn't an all or nothing slugger. He was just a really good hitter. And with Larry Walker getting in, I think it's huge for Todd Helton.
Well, I was just going to say that the fact that Larry Walker's in is really the biggest reason that I strongly considered Helton. And the more I look at it, I think I'm with you. I think I'm adding him to my ballot.
He's one of, I think it's 15 guys to slash 300, 400, 500 in his career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
15 or 6. I forget the exact number,
yeah,
but it's very small.
It's a really exclusive list. And if you look at the rest of the guys, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, and similarity stuff, Bagwell, mm-hmm. Edgar, Vlad, Orlando Cepeda, Larry Walker, Jim Rice, Frank Thomas, all Hall of Famers. Fred McGriff is on the list. He should be a Hall of Famer.
Should be a Hall of Famer.
I'll die on that hill. Andres Galarraga's on the list. He's not a Hall of Famer. Luis Gonzalez, again, not a Hall of Famer. But I'll tell you what, the fact that Luis Gonzalez continually comes up makes me think a little bit harder about Luis Gonzalez.
He was another steroid guy.
Yeah, but he's not good. He's never going to get in. But it's like, okay, he keeps popping up. This is the second time now that we've mentioned him. And Helton, as we speak, is on 32 ballots, 57%.
And I think he will get in. I think he's going to continue to trend upward.
And I think the fact that there is no, you have to swallow hard to vote for this guy moment that voters have to have with him, I think that'll help him ultimately.
And people love a guy that played for one team.
Yeah, but people also hate the fact that, some of these
guys, all Colorado.
Well, he was all Colorado, and he was a hunter. And he got hurt carrying a deer down his steps.
That's true. Yeah.
So the guys that are big animal activists, and look, I love animals. I'm not a hunter. I'd probably shoot myself before I shot a deer just because I don't know how to shoot a gun. They would hold that against him. They'd be like, oh, character. He's a hunter. Oh,
yeah.
Dipshit, how do you think your burger gets in the supermarket?
I'm telling you, man, the character clause is the dumbest fucking thing in the Hall of Fame voting rules.
Especially when I want to see the character of the people voting.
Yeah. Between that and the fact that there are some real assholes in the Hall. Ty Cobb tried to actively kill people on the baseball field.
Look, Ty Cobb was, okay, apparently Ty Cobb was not as big a racist as everybody thought.
I'm not even talking about the racism. I'm talking
I know you're not.
Yeah.
But he legitimately went out trying to kill people. He would sharpen his spikes perfectly and be like, I'm sliding to second base. I'm going to stab this guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to make him bleed. If he didn't draw blood, he was pissed.
He would jump before he slid to see if he could get the guy's neck. Ty Cobb, it should have been in jail for attempted murder.
Yeah, Ty Cobb was a dirty, dirty player. But nobody has shit to say about him.
Don't come at me about character. If there's a guy that actively tried to kill people in the Hall of Fame and multiple severe racists, I'm looking at you, Tom Yawkey. Don't come at me about the character clause. It's my least favorite thing. But yeah, I think Todd Helton should be in. He was on my ballot last year. He's staying on my ballot this year.
The next guy, not somebody I want to vote for, but I don't see how you leave him out. It's Big Papi. it's David Ortiz. The guy, look, did he do steroids? Maybe. We don't know.
The Mitchell report is so weird.
I think the Mitchell report's bullshit. Like, there's too many questions about it.
Yeah.
We've never gotten a definitive answer one way or the other about it. So as far as I'm concerned, it's whatever. Like, it can be out in the ether. I don't put any stock into it. But the fact of the matter is that David Ortiz didn't start becoming David Ortiz. It took him 7 years before he became Big Papi. But God, I mean, the 13 years from the point that he figured it out on, he was something to behold. I mean, aside from the fact that he was just physically impressive, he was a beast. He scared the shit out of me every time he stepped to the plate. I thought he was going to kill somebody when he hit the ball because it came off the bat so freaking fast. But I mean, 541 home runs for a slugger. Yeah, he struck out a lot. He also had a 931 OPS and a 380 on base percentage. He drew over 1,300 walks. Now, sure. Well, he was a DH. He didn't really play the field. Who cares?
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't care. Edgar Martinez is one of the greatest hitters of all time. He didn't play the field because he couldn't. I don't even think he knew how to put a glove on. Like, he was a full-time DH. So what? DH is part of the game. And guess what, you traditionalists? It's going to be part of the National League next year, whether you like it or not.
You can't implement a new position and then hold it against guys who play it.
Yeah, no.
Plain and simple.
Interestingly enough, there's only 4 guys of his comps that are in. Big Hurt, Jim Thome, Bagwell, and Willie McCovey. That's all I need.
Yeah, that list of names.
Yeah, like just those 4, and then there's another guy on this list that I'll get to that I think should be in, or 2 guys on this list, including McGriff. But there's another guy on the list who's on the ballot that we'll get to. But yeah, I mean, love him or hate him, Big Papi was a tremendous ball player. And then when you consider the fact what he's done off the field, what he's done to help grow the game to despite MLB's best efforts to completely destroy any chance of marketing the game to people with the idiot. Excuse me. See, because I was going to say Rob Manfred and I started to choke.
Yeah,
he has that effect on people. But when Rob Manfred is actively trying to destroy the growth potential of this game with his moronic decisions year after year, Big Papi still is out there trying to get people involved. I mean, he's a great ambassador. He was a great ball player, one of the most fearsome sluggers of his generation, 540 home runs. Put the guy in the Hall of Fame and let's move on. He is at where are you? 82.1% leading vote getter.
He's got to be in the 80s.
Leading vote getter as we stand as of, like I said, 1:25 this afternoon.
There are some guys. It's weird. I think Nelson Cruz is going to be one of those guys. There are some guys that just totally get over the steroid thing. No one cares that Andy Pettitte did steroids. That's like one of the last things people think about with Pettitte.
But it's also because Pettitte came out and was just like, yeah. I did it.
And it's like the same thing with Jason Giambi.
Here's why I did it. And yeah, I screw up. I'm sorry. And whatever. But Pettitte wasn't a Hall of Famer to begin with.
No, I agree.
I love Pettitte. I mean, he's one of my favorite players of all time, but Andy Pettitte wasn't a Hall of Famer. Giambi's whole career was fraud.
Yeah, but then there was the thing where he did the same thing. He was like, yeah, I did steroids. And then he's on Cleveland and he hits was it with Cleveland or Colorado where he hit walk-off home runs in like back-to-back games?
Colorado, I think.
Yeah. And everyone was just the biggest Jason Giambi fan. They're like, holy shit, look at this 49-year-old man still doing it.
Yeah, but like Ortiz, Giambi's like Ortiz. He's bigger than life physically, and he has that affable personality, so people like him. And people forgive people that they like. Andy Pettitte's like a country bumpkin that nobody cares about.
Yeah. I also, obviously, Ortiz is on my ballot. Before I go to bed every night, I pray to Ted Williams and David Ortiz. Like, it's Big Papi is, in terms of all-time Red Sox, I think he's on the Mount Rushmore. It's Williams. Yeah, I think it's Williams, Yaz, Ortiz, and probably, I'd say probably Clemens.
No Pedro?
Actually, yeah, Pedro. It'd be Pedro, Ortiz, Williams, and Yaz. That's the Mount Rushmore of Red Sox for me.
Okay.
And there's a lot of guys I'm leaving off that
yes, there are. There are a lot of guys you're leaving off.
Yeah, and it's tough to leave them off, but I think Big Papi had that impact not only on like the city of Boston, but just the game of baseball.
Yeah, that's
David
fair.
Ortiz. David Ortiz is the best designated hitter ever, in my opinion. Edgar Martinez is fantastic. I'll take David Ortiz strictly for the power. Like he was almost as good of a pure hitter as Edgar Martinez, but he had so much more power than Edgar.
If there's a therapist listening to this or watching this, please reach out to Mark on Twitter, slide into his DMs, offer him some help because this man needs it. He needs it. He just said David Ortiz was almost as great a hitter as Edgar Martinez.
He was a
You're
great
out
hitter.
of your mind. Your hairs are all over the place. You look insane, and now you sound insane.
Buddy, the hair's a mess.
And so's your take that David Ortiz is almost as good a hitter as Edgar Martinez. Get the hell out of here.
Ortiz was a phenomenal hitter. Did he strike out a lot more than Martinez did? Yes, he did. He struck out more.
David Ortiz was a great ball player. David Ortiz was not a great hitter.
I disagree. I think he was a great hitter.
Okay. We both agree he's in, so that's that, but you're out of your mind.
Yeah. But even just like you said, the 13 years after the Mitchell report came out, 2016, as a 40-year-old man, he hit .315 with 38 home runs, 48 doubles, 127 RBIs, finished sixth in MVP voting. It's just like that. That's all you need to know about this guy is he was just an incredible ball player. Like I said, in my opinion, best DH of all time. He's obviously going to be on my ballot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think there's any question he's getting in.
Yeah. Next one for me is a guy I mentioned earlier briefly. That's Jeff Kent. I don't understand why this guy isn't in the Hall of Fame already, to be quite honest with you. Most home runs all time by a second baseman. I believe the number as a second baseman is 351. Guy was just a really good hitter. I understand, he couldn't play the field. If you hit 350 home runs as a second baseman, I don't really care how well you play the field.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Jeter wasn't a great fielder. Hate to tell you that, but it's the truth.
It is.
You know, I mean, who cares? Jeff Kent, I agree with you. I mean, I think he should be, and I personally don't vote for him. The only reason I can say is there's just something that I can't put my finger on, and it's not off-field stuff. It's not the fact that he was a jerk. It was just something about Jeff Kent. I can't do it.
That's fair. I mean,
but I mean, you can't argue with what you're saying. I mean, the numbers don't lie, and the numbers say he was a damn good ball player.
Yeah, when I see a second baseman that had a 500 slugging for his career, 123 OPS plus at a historically light hitting position, I'm just like, yeah, I think the guy should be in the Hall of Fame. He won an MVP over Bonds, who he was playing on the same team with, like Belko Bonds, not skinny Bonds.
Right, yeah.
And I think that says something where they're like, yeah, this dude was just the best player in the National League this year when he was playing in the same league at the same time as McGuire, Sosa, Bonds, Helton, who I think should have won the MVP that year. Right. But I think that says something. You look at how he only won 4 Silver Sluggers, I'll never understand. Same with the All-Star appearances. I'll never get that for one of the best hitting second basemen ever. But ever since he came on the ballot, he's been getting my vote, and he seems to get little to no support, which has always surprised me.
Yeah, he's at 23.2%, which last year he finished at 32.4%. So he's trending in the wrong direction in the early goings here. But there's still plenty of time for him to make up.
So yeah, who's next on your ballot?
My ballot, where'd it go? This is probably one that you'll agree with me, I think, but I know that there are quite a few people who don't, and that's Scott Rowland.
Yep.
Scott Rowland didn't do anything. He wasn't a superstar, but he didn't do anything badly. He was really good at everything. He
Mm-hmm.
could hit for power. He could hit for average. He was a phenomenal defender.
Incredible.
Um, and like you look at his numbers, which I just lost.
I've got him right here.
Here they are. 300 home runs, 281 hitter, 364 on base, 490 slugging, 855 OPS, rookie of the year. Okay, yeah, he made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 All-Star games. He never won an MVP. Oh well. 1,
He was
2,
playing on the
3,
same team as
4.
prime Albert Pujols. Like,
Yeah, 8 Gold Gloves, including one when he was 35. He's just a good all-around ball player. And the fact of the matter is, there aren't a whole hell of a lot of third basemen in the Hall of Fame.
that's my least favorite thing about the argument against Scott Rowland. It's like, yeah, look how he stacks up to Hall of Fame third baseman. Oh, I'm sorry, he's not Mike Schmidt or George Brett or Eddie Matthews, like all-time top-tier great players.
Yeah, okay,
Like,
and look, the similarity stuff, it works against them here. There's only one of the top 10 in the Hall of Fame, and that's Ron Santo.
who I always thought was borderline at best anyway.
Yeah, and then after that, you're talking Matt Holliday, Paul O'Neill, Sean Green, Bobby Bonilla, Reggie Smith, Aramis Ramirez, Fred Lynn, Ken Boyer, and Ellis Burks. Like, doesn't scream Hall of Famer, but, I mean,
In
to
terms
me,
of the position, though, like,
yeah,
you look at,
exactly. In terms of the position, to me, I mean, Scott Rowland's a Hall of Famer.
he's 10th all-time in WAR as a third baseman. He's 10th all-time in JAWS as a third baseman. Let's see, where is he on this? He's 16th all-time in WAR per 162 as a third baseman. Defensive WAR, I feel like he's got to be up there. He's 6th. Like, the guy is just, he's a top 10 third baseman all time. No matter what way you cut it, he just is, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think that should be rewarded. For whatever reason, people are like, oh, the counting stats aren't there. Because they try to compare him to Mike Schmidt.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a big WAR fan, but speaking of WAR, from 1997 to 2004, the only two players in baseball that had a higher WAR than Scott Rowland were Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez.
That should tell you all you need to know right there.
I mean, it doesn't matter what the counting stats say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 8 seasons as one of the 3 best players in baseball, that should be enough, especially at a position where, like we've said, I mean, it's underrepresented.
And very top heavy.
Yeah, and very, very top heavy. Very top heavy.
And yeah, I'm glad you're in on Rowland as well, because he's one for me that I've been trying to push hard for the past few years.
And I really hope that he gets in and he has Tony La Russa give his induction speech. Because they do not like each other.
No, they hate each other. They can't fucking stand each other. I'm going to go with one more that I don't think you have.
Okay.
It's Billy Wagner.
Oh, he's on mine. He's on mine.
Okay, good. Because not nearly enough people pay attention to this man.
Oh God, no! Billy Wagner is so criminally underrated. Billy Wagner was great. My only issue with Wagner is that he stole Enter Sandman when he's with the Mets.
He did steal Enter Sandman.
That's my only issue with him.
But God, this guy was good. Like, I remember Billy Wagner, and like, I didn't remember a ton about him. He retired in 2010. I got super into baseball around 2010. I had always been a fan and knew a lot of the players, but 2010 was around when I became a baseball super fan. And that was his last year with Atlanta, which he was the closer ahead of some guy. I don't know if you've heard of him, Craig Kimbrell. He was pretty good. He was pretty good when he was coming up with Atlanta. And he was the closer ahead of him. As a 38-year-old, he had a 1.43 ERA and 104 strikeouts in 69 innings. It's like the guy he threw 100 miles an hour with a wicked slider. He was reliever Randy Johnson, basically. It was, if you threw Randy Johnson in the bullpen, that was Billy Wagner. He has a career 2.3 ERA. Like, how is this guy not in the Hall? He had over 400 saves. He had everything.
Yeah, Billy Wagner was so good. I mean, so good. You've said it, like, there's nothing for me to add here. I mean, he finished his career with a whip under 1.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, well, he only pitched, 20 innings a season. Guy threw 900 innings in 16 years. He pitched in 853 games. Like, there was ample opportunity for him to get smacked around.
People try to hold that against him. They're like, oh, he didn't even throw 1,000 innings. Who does anymore? All right.
He had one season in his entire career with an ERA over 2.85.
Yeah.
One. The guy pitched for 16 years. 15 of those, you take that out. Okay, we'll take that season out.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, we will take out, because that's not working. Thank you, Baseball Reference.
No, but just look at 2001 to 2010. 2.13 ERA with 11 strikeouts per 9. He ended up with 11.9 strikeouts per 9 in his career. 12 strikeouts per 9 in his career.
And okay, well, he didn't make all-star teams, and guess what? He was going up against Mariano Rivera's entire career.
And Trevor Hoffman.
He
pitched a lot in the National League.
Yeah, it's
he
true.
Was up against Trevor Hoffman.
He spent most of his career. I forget that Houston was National League for the time he was there. But you're going to hold that against him? That he was going up against 2 Hall of Famers? He was arguably the 3rd best reliever in baseball during his career.
And you look at the last few years to say maybe 08 to or 07 to 2010. I don't have Trevor Hoffman's numbers in front of me. He was probably better.
Yeah, probably. I don't have Hoffman's up either, but
in terms of dominant relievers, Billy Wagner was always more dominant than Trevor Hoffman. Hoffman's career ERA is 2.8. That's a half of a point higher than Billy Wagner's.
Yeah, which is a big deal when you're talking
huge
runs.
Deal.
Yeah, so Billy's sitting 51.8% of the vote right now. He finished 46.4 last year, so maybe he's picking up a little bit of steam. I don't know if he gets there this year, but I think eventually he probably will. Again, you talk about underrepresented. Closers are criminally underrepresented. It's, yes, it's a specialized thing. Yes, they don't pitch 1,000 innings like you said. Find me a team that wins games without a closer.
Yeah.
Pitchers don't throw complete games anymore, people.
Haven't in many a year.
Yeah, you need guys like Billy Wagner at the end of your bullpen. And very few are as good as him. So, I don't think it's much of a debate.
Yeah, that guy was incredible, man. It's every time I look at his stats, I'm just like, how is this guy not in the Hall of Fame?
I don't get it. I don't. Maybe people just hate closers, or maybe everybody just compares. Well, you're a closer and you're not Mariano Rivera, so I can't vote for it.
No, that's what it is. If you're not Goose Gossage or Mariano Rivera, they don't give a shit.
Oh, and Goose wouldn't get in now because he's too vocal. People hate Goose now.
Which is kind of understandable.
Look, people can say you can say whatever the hell you want. I don't care.
I agree.
As long as you're not out there advocating go out and shoot somebody in the face, or go, pull a nun out of church and punch her. You can say whatever you want. You want to be a dumbass, be a dumbass. It doesn't change the fact that you are awesome at your job. And this isn't about what you did after you retired. This is about what you do during the game. And Goose was awesome. A little before my time. I remember him. I remember his mustache more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I mean, well, he's kind of a jerk. Who cares? Who
Well,
cares?
do you have anyone else on your ballot?
Yes, I do.
Who?
Speaking of jerks and people with off-field shit, Kurt Schilling.
Okay, that was the question I wanted to pose is do you still vote for Kurt Schilling?
I've
So
never stopped
yes.
voting for Kurt Schilling. Kurt Schilling is, I don't know, and this is going to piss some people off, but I don't know there was a more clutch pitcher in baseball than Kurt Schilling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, games on the line, you have to win. I think I'm taking Kurt Schilling over pretty much everybody.
I agree.
I mean, the bloody sock, whether you want to believe it was ketchup or whatever, that was a hell of a performance. The guy was over. I mean, you could make the argument. This is a guy who pitched alongside Randy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You could make the argument Schilling was better during his time with Arizona than Randy Johnson. Like,
Yeah, I
yes.
personally wouldn't make that argument, but yeah, that
No,
argument can be
I
made.
wouldn't make the argument either,
Yeah.
but you could. Like, it's
Mhm.
possible. He finished, actually, did he finish second to Randy Johnson both years?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, okay. So, 1 and 2 in Cy Young when he's pitching, but he's 216 and 146. Okay, 3.46 ERA isn't great. Guess what? Jack Morris is in the Hall of Fame. His ERA is worse than that.
It's 3.8.
Yeah, I mean, he had 1, 2, 3 seasons with 300 plus strikeouts. Nobody does. We'll give him 4 because he finished with 293 in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the guy was he was so clutch. And then, I mean, you look at his postseason performances. God.
Yeah, what is it, like 11-2 with a 2-1?
11 and, yeah, here we go. 11 and 2, 2.23.
Oh, 2-2. Okay.
Yeah, 2.23 ERA, 0.968 WHIP, and 120 strikeouts in 133 innings. Like, and he had 4 complete games.
Yeah.
In the postseason. Like, game on the line, you need someone to take the ball and shut the other team down. It's Kurt Schilling. Like, that's who I want.
Yeah.
Okay, again, comp scores, Smoltz is the only one in. But that's fine. That's all I need.
And I feel like...
Yeah, and then, okay, Frankie's on that list. He'll be in.
Mm-hmm.
Verlander's on that list. He'll be in.
He'll be in.
And then there were guys that were borderline. There were guys like Oral Hershiser and Tim Hudson, Milt Pappas, Kevin Brown.
Kevin Brown should be in. I'm very strong on Kevin Brown being in.
Yeah, I'm iffy on Kevin Brown.
He had like a 3.1 ERA in his career. That's not talked about nearly enough.
No. Kevin Brown was great. I just don't know if he was great for long enough.
That's fair.
But to me, Schilling's, the fact that his clutch performances were so clutch and so huge, like, to me, that erases any of his ERA's not, a little high, and okay, he didn't win a Cy Young. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Now, if you want to hold the fact that he's a fraud and just a psychopath against him, again, doesn't matter to me.
Only reason he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that pisses me off so much.
And it doesn't matter to me because it's not about what you did after your career.
Not even a little bit.
It's about what he did on the field while he played, and he was awesome. Like, yeah, it makes me despise the voters. Like, I think a lot of the voters are idiots to begin with, just based on their takes and based on their ballots. Yep. But the fact that, I don't agree with his politics, I don't care.
Most people don't.
I don't care what anyone thinks about politics.
Yeah.
I really don't. No offense, Mark. You're my boy. I couldn't care less what you think about politics. I don't want to know.
Same goes for you.
Like, I really don't want to know.
Yeah.
So I don't care what Kurt Schilling does after he finishes playing.
This guy not being in the Hall of... You want counting numbers. Like, yeah, the wins are a little low. The ERA is a little high. had over 3,000 strikeouts, and when he retired, he had the highest strikeout to walk ratio in baseball history. The highest strikeout to walk ratio in baseball history.
Yeah.
The guy struck out a ton of guys and he didn't walk anybody. You want a good pitcher? That's the sign of a good pitcher.
And for those who maybe don't know this or realize this, he retired after Nolan Ryan was done. Mm-hmm. So he had a higher rate than Nolan fucking Ryan.
Yeah.
Who everyone knows is the greatest strikeout artist of all time.
My favorite one is in 2002 when he finished second to Randy Johnson in Cy Young voting. He went 23-7 with a 3.2 ERA. He had 316 strikeouts and 33 walks, good for a 9.58 strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, we're talking about legitimately one of the best strikeout pitchers ever. Ever.
Yeah, and he is currently 67.9%. He would be higher, but I think some voters are going to take him up on his.
Don't vote for me.
Don't vote for me. No, I'm all for it. I'm all for Curt Schilling saying that. Yeah, because he's calling them out on their bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's just like, nothing's changed since I retired.
It just
like now you're gonna hold
me off that people are listening to him. That's what pisses me off. When people are like, yeah, he told me not to, so I'm not going to. You're the problem.
No. The problem is that you didn't put him in when you should have, because nothing's changed. He should have been in a long time ago. I'm not saying first ballot, but you've had 9
I'm saying
chances.
First ballot.
I would have voted for him on the first ballot, but I get why people don't, and that's fine. But you've had 8 other opportunities to put him in the Hall of Fame, and you've blown it. Yeah, and I mean the fact of the matter is that aside from one guy who already said like I'm not voting for him because he said he didn't want us to vote for him, so I'm not going to vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other guys that had been voting for him and didn't.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what changed?
That
you realize that you didn't agree with him on a lot of stuff? You realize that he screwed over Rhode Island with his bullshit video game company? Okay.
That's very funny.
Yeah, like, whatever. So he's a shitty businessman and a scumbag. Did you go into business with him, Mr. Voter? No? Okay, then shut up. Who cares?
I think something that's just always annoyed me about Curt Schilling's career is he was drafted by the Red Sox. The Red Sox could have had Schilling and Clemens in the same rotation, and it would have been unreal. But no, they had to trade him with Brady Anderson, by the way, to Baltimore for Mike Boddicker.
Mike Boddicker was a terrible pitcher.
It was awful.
No, he wasn't a terrible pitcher. Mike Boddicker, when he was with Baltimore, was a solid pitcher. Mike Boddicker is not worth Curt Schilling. Although, so wait, not only did the Red Sox trade away Curt Schilling, they also traded away Jeff Bagwell for a bag of balls.
Yes.
You could have had Schilling, Clemens, Bagwell.
And the Red Sox wouldn't have sucked in the 90s.
And Babe Ruth. You saw Babe Ruth.
That one I don't care about anymore since the Red Sox have won 4 World Series since the curse was broken. So, like, it's like that one, whatever. The fact that the Red Sox stunk in the 90s and very much shouldn't have, that's what pisses me off. Mike Greenwell should have never been the best player on those teams. Hell of a player. Hell of a player.
No, it wasn't even because he was a good player. It's because he's Don Mattingly's cousin.
Is he really?
Yeah, it's the only reason I liked Mike Greenwell, because he was Mattingly's cousin.
But he shouldn't have been the best player on those teams. It should have been Clemens and Schilling at the front of the rotation, just shutting everybody down.
Yeah, Clemens, Schilling, and Bagwell, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, oh well.
Red Sox suck at trades, just historically. They've always been awful at it.
Yeah, a lot of teams do.
Yeah.
A lot of teams do. Who you got next?
My next one is a guy I thought you were alluding to earlier. It's Gary Sheffield.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is weird. I personally have Sheffield ahead of Sosa. I know Sosa. like Sosa hit more home runs. He was more impactful on the game with 98 and
Sammy
stuff.
Sosa's dog shit. Sammy Sosa is not a Hall of Famer. He's never going to be on my ballot. Talk
My
about a fraud.
Yeah, my thing with Sosa is I legitimately think he was a fraud.
Like Sammy
Like
Sosa is not.
Bonds and Clemens, I'm like, yeah, those guys were really good. And same with Sheffield, because he's got the PED thing hanging over him as well. Uh, I'm like, all these guys were really, really fucking good. I think Sosa was because he would cork his bat. He was doing everything.
Yeah,
He
well,
was doing
that's
Floyd's with a corked bat and like just
and,
cheating all over the
and to be
place.
fair, Sheffield never failed any test.
No, we didn't. And that's why I put
It
him
was
on here.
just speculation
Yeah.
about Sheffield and PEDs, and also the fact that he was kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
I think that works against
No
him.
one
That
liked
people
him.
just didn't like him.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've got Gary Sheffield. I mean, you look at the numbers: 509 home runs. We're talking 292, 393, 514. So very close to that 300, 400, 500 slash line I mentioned earlier for Helton. I mean, the guy was just. It also, I feel like it doesn't help because he played a long time. He played 22 years for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different teams. I don't think that helps him either. He's the Moses Malone of baseball, where it's like, yeah, this guy's really good and just played for half the league.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see how that could be held against the guy.
Well, I don't. People love to do that, and I don't understand why. I don't hold it against him, but like,
Very
I
few
feel like,
players spend their whole career in one place or two places. Guys bounce all over the place.
okay, so I'm assuming you think of Sheffield as a Yankee.
Yeah, but I mean, you could make an argument that he's a Marlin. You could make an argument that he should go in as
Like a
any.
Dodger. Like he spent 4 years with the Dodgers. Like that's the
Yeah,
second most he spent anywhere.
like
Like
there are a lot of different. He can. I wouldn't say he's a Met. I wouldn't say he's a Tiger. I wouldn't say he's a Padre. I wouldn't say he's a Brave. After
well, but
that, Florida, Dodgers, Brewers, Yanks. Yeah, any of those four, I think he'd fit
so
in.
but yeah, I just think people like to hold that against the guy because it's like a guy with no identity. It's like when people think of a player, they like to think of him like on a certain team. And with Sheffield, it's like, oh yeah, he played for 8 teams and was good for all of them, really. I mean, even the Mets, he only played in 100 games, but he hit 276 with 10 home runs and 43 RBIs. Like he was solid as a 40-year-old. Like,
Yeah, I mean, so not only did he finish his career with 509 home runs, which, okay, he crossed the magic 500 number.
mhm.
Uh, he had over almost 1,500 walks,
Yeah, walked more
which
than he
was,
struck out.
yeah, which is 21st all time through last year, 9-time All Star, 393 career on base percentage, like you mentioned, 8 seasons with an on base percentage over 400. What do you have? 465 and 96, which
Yep.
led the league. He's been on base almost 4,300 times, which is 29th highest in baseball history. Now, granted, he was not a great fielder. Okay, that's fine. We've already
Mhm.
established that doesn't really matter because we have DHs in the Hall of Fame. The thing about him is that he was like, I don't want to say he was like the Bob Gibson of hitting, but Gary Sheffield scared people when he stepped to the plate. And there's something
Yeah.
to that. That counts for something. And you
Mhm.
can't quantify it with a number. Yeah, but it changes the way that a pitcher attacks the opposing team. It changes the way that the manager attacks a game when Sheffield is sitting there. And I mean, again, there's no way to quantify it or to know, but just him being there, I guarantee you, added substantial amount of wins to the totals of the teams that he played on
Mhm.
because they would either pitch around him and put him on base, and the guy behind him would drive in runs, or they would make the mistake of pitching to him and he'd smack the ball 800 feet.
Yeah.
You look again, comps again. Everyone on the list is in the Hall of Fame with the exception of McGriff, who we agree should be, and Miggy, who will be.
Yes.
After that, Chipper Jones, Mel Ott, Reggie Jackson. Okay, Carlos Beltran's on the list. He's borderline.
He will be in.
He will be in.
He's Andre Dawson. If you ever look at his numbers next to Andre Dawson, they're identical.
Yeah, no, he's Andre Dawson, probably a better fielder. Dawson was a great fielder, but Beltran was just spectacular. Griffey Jr., Mickey Mantle, Billy Williams, and Frank Robinson. Like, Gary Sheffield's a Hall of Famer. You can say what you want about his attitude. You can say what you want about his son being a loon, or whether maybe you agree with him. I don't know. I happen to like his son because there's no bullshit with him. He just says what's on his mind, whether I agree with him or not. I respect the fact that he's not afraid to just say whatever the hell he wants.
Did you happen to see the interaction I had with Gary Sheffield Jr. on Twitter?
No.
It was during the playoffs, and he had a take. And I usually don't like him just because I think a lot of his takes are bullshit. I just don't agree with a lot of his takes.
That's fair.
And so I quote tweeted a take of his that I actually agreed with. And I was like, yeah, normally don't really like this guy, but he's spot on here. I think it was about the check swing that ended the Giants-Dodgers series.
Okay.
And he responded. He was like, why don't you like me? And I was like, shit, here we go. And I was just like, typically don't agree with your takes. I have nothing against you personally. We have different ideas on things. And he was like, man, I just see a lot of people giving me shit on this app for no reason. People coming at me personally. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I just don't really like your takes. And he's still coming at me and shit. We had 8 tweets back and forth, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I don't I'm not even arguing with the guy, and he's acting like I'm arguing with him.
Well, I mean, maybe he was looking to pick a fight at that point. I don't know.
I don't know either, but it was just this. It was just weird. It was a very strange night for me on Twitter.
That's strange. Yeah, but I don't think Sheffield's gonna get in. But I think he should. He's at 45%. He was at 40% last year. He's got 2 more years, so he's got a chance to continue to move up. But I just don't see it.
And I just want to sort of break down some of the other guys on the ballot because that's my full ballot. I believe it's yours as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm done. I got nobody left.
Yeah, that's all 10 for me. There's a couple guys on here I think I'm going to vote for in the next couple of years. Just because a lot of guys are going to fall off the ballot this year with either getting in or just their tenures is up.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to be a Prince Fielder guy for the peak. Like I said, I'm a big peak guy.
Yeah.
I think Johan Santana should be in the Hall of Fame because there was a 7-year stretch or something where he had a 280 ERA. It was insane how good he was for a while. I think I'm going to be that way with Prince Fielder. So I could see myself voting for him. I'm very borderline on Torrey Hunter. I think he's a guy that deserves a deeper look. I will, as much as I say I don't give a shit about the character clause, I'm done voting for Omar Vizquel. That's too far for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I draw the line. I'm like, okay, I'm done supporting this man.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting the next couple of years because there are some guys on here that deserve a real close look. Like Andrew Jones, I can see myself voting for. I go back and forth on him every single year, just about.
Honestly, Andrew Jones is the only one that I'm still iffy on. The rest of them, we already debated Abreu. Mark Burley's not a Hall of Famer. Carl Crawford's not a Hall of Famer. I love Prince Fielder. His peak was phenomenal. I just don't think he played long enough. Ryan Howard, no. Again, he was phenomenal at his peak. Injuries killed him. Tim Hudson, no. Hunter, much as I love him, no. Lincecum, nope. Morneau, nope. Nathan, nope. Papelbon, no. Peavy, no. Pettit, no. Pierzynski, love him, but
no for Papelbon.
I just don't like Papelbon.
Yeah.
I've never liked Papelbon. Although I am the only person at Bleacher Report when he was a free agent to nail where he was going. I said he's going to Philly. Everyone else was like, you crazy. It's in an article somewhere. And he went to Philly, and he stunk it up. Manny, not a chance. A-Rod, not a chance.
Mm-hmm.
People can say whatever they want about Manny and A-Rod. Manny fielded, 3 tests?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, he was using estrogen at one point to try and like get lost, Manny. A-Rod, I'm
Very funny.
convinced. I'm convinced A-Rod was using steroids when he was born.
Hmm.
Jimmy Rollins, you know, like him, he was real good, but no, you know, Tex, nope. Omar, fuck off, and that's it. You know, like no, there's just no one that screams Hall of Famer, and to me, like it's got to scream Hall of Fame.
And even I'm looking at guys coming on the ballot next year for the first time, like likely coming on the ballot.
Mhm.
It, there's Carlos Beltran, who I think is a Hall of Famer,
Yeah,
and nobody else. Uh, maybe Francisco, like K-Rod. Like I could see
I have to
K-Rod.
dig more into K-Rod, but like
Yeah,
on at first glance, my answer is no.
but just looking at guys like that are eligible to come on the ballot next year, whew, it's rough. It's Beltron and everybody else.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you know, and again, I think that works in favor of a guy that might fall a little short this year, like Scott Rowland,
hmm. Oh, I
because
agree.
they're not going to just do a one person class. There's
Yeah, I mean,
nobody. There's nobody like Beltran was great, but he wasn't great enough. He's not Jeter, where Jeter could have gone in by himself and he would have drawn a massive crowd.
mhm.
Like Beltran's not that guy. You know, Pujols could go in by himself. He'd draw a massive crowd. You know, he's not that. He's
Yeah.
just not that guy. And then you have the crap with Houston. You know, people are going to hold that
Hmm.
against him.
Oh yeah. I
You know,
wouldn't be surprised if he didn't get in first ballot,
no,
and I think he should be.
I don't think he will. He should be, but I don't think he will. I think that he'll be. That'll be their punishment. You have to wait another year.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
mean, you know, I can't really. I'm glad you didn't vote for Vizquel because I was ready to fight you to the death on that one.
no, I'm
I think you're insane with Bobby Abreu. Other than that, I mean, I can't really argue with your picks. I mean, I think you did a pretty good job.
and I'm also like I said, I'm more of a big haul guy. I like to try to find 10 guys that I can vote for. Most years, like every once in a while, I have 7 or 8, but I'm usually looking for 10 guys. I want to fill up my ballot just because that's the way I feel the Hall of Fame should be.
Yeah,
Couple of
see,
years though, we've got some interesting guys coming on. Beltre's coming on, Joe Mauer, Chase Utley, David Wright. This is the 2024 ballot. So there are some interesting names coming on in 2 years, so that'll be more like, if Roland and Helton want to get in, they should probably do it this year or next year,
I
because
mean,
the ballot's going to get real crowded again.
of those four, it's Beltray and Mauer.
Yeah, well, I think those are the two shoe-ins.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just, I mean, and I watched David Wright's entire career. He just, to me, David Wright's Mattingly. His peak was great. Injuries killed him. And if Donnie Baseball's not in, then no one else deserves to be in. That had a
That's
similar career trajectory.
that's fair. I
As
also
I'm
think Don
stumbling,
Mattingly should be in, but
as all of a sudden I'm turning into Ralph Wiggum in Me Fail English, not being able to pronounce words.
so then we
And,
got Ichiro, CC the year after, King Felix, who,
I
in
mean,
my
all
opinion, is a Hall of Famer.
slam dunks, all three of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dustin
I don't care
Pedroia, who
about
we'll
King
see.
Felix at the end. I mean, King Felix was he was little Pedro for 10 years.
Yeah. No, big Pedro. He was much larger than Pedro Martinez.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
like he was mini Pedro. My other thing with the Hall of Fame, and again, I mean, it's just a personal bias. I watched my aunt have to wait fucking 40 something years to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's true.
So I'm like super exclusive with who I vote for. Like, you better knock my socks off. You really better wow me, because I'm not just letting anyone through the door, and I'm gonna make you wait. Like, if you want first ballot, then you better like blow me away.
Hmm.
I'd be able to have to look at your name. I don't even have to. I shouldn't. If I have to look at your stats and do a deep dive, you're not a Hall of Famer. Like, that's where I'm at with the Hall of Fame at this point. And
That's
it's
fair.
not fair, and it's not right, but it is what it is. That's where I am. This is what happens when you have morons running halls of fame and it becomes a political thing.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, like, a lot of people think that way, and I don't really hold that against people. Like, my whole thing with the Hall of Fame is I think there are a lot of underappreciated guys. I mean, just look at, like, from 1975 to, like, 1990. Like, that entire era of baseball, I think, is underrepresented. You look at guys like Keith Hernandez, Dwight Evans. I think Fred Lynn's got a case. Like, there's a lot of guys in that era where it's like, yeah, these guys may not have put up the counting stats, but for the era they played in, they were just spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's the problem with comparing eras is that it's impossible to do because it's a different game. Hell, it was a different baseball. Hell, we had what 2 different baseballs this year.
I was gonna say it's a different baseball every 2 weeks, Rick. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
so it's tough, and I don't envy the guys that have to vote. I will trash them on this show when I disagree with them, and
agreed.
But I don't envy them. It's a tough thing to vote for. Again, my whole thing is it's about what you did on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you do something truly egregious afterwards,
Omar Vizquel,
right? Then it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really shouldn't matter. And the fact that it does, that's a problem.
Yeah.
It's not right because this is not about. Because let's be honest, we can go back to the early years, like the guys that played in 1900 to 1920, like the pre-Babe Ruth era, that are in the Hall of Fame. How much do we really know about them?
Very
Not a whole
little.
hell of a lot. So, like, how many dudes are in the Hall of Fame that were wife beaters? How many dudes were in the Hall of Fame that were actually racist? Like legitimately beat people up for the color of their skin. Like, we don't know.
At least one, Tom Yawkey.
Yeah, but you see my point. Like, it's again. So I'm just kind of where you said the character clause is garbage. Like, it really is because
both.
We have no idea about the people that were in before you started voting, and we don't know shit about your character. So who are you to judge someone else's character?
Yeah, and I hate to say that he made a good point. Schilling did talk about that. He did a huge interview with Bob Costas for MLB Network last year, and he talked about that. He was like, you look at some of the guys that are in the Hall of Fame and find out some of the things about them. I'm an angel compared to some of these guys.
Yeah,
and it's like he mentioned a couple names that I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now, but I looked them up and I was like, yeah, Schilling's right. Like one of them was a writer that won the I never remember, is that the Frick or the no, Frick is Broadcasters.
Frick is Broadcasters. I forget who which the writing one is.
But he won the writing award and got into the Hall of Fame, and you look the guy up and it's like, oh wait, he's a pedophile. And had multiple relationships with teenage girls when he was in his 50s. And it's like,
yeah, and he's still in the Hall of Fame.
And he's still in the Hall of Fame.
That's fucking disgusting.
And I was like, yeah, Curt Schilling's got a point. So that's our very comprehensive breakdown of our Baseball Hall of Fame ballots.
Wow, way to end on an up note there, Mark. Ending the show talking about some random pedophile.
Well, you have to admit, it's hard to be uplifting about the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Let's end it a little bit more upbeat than that.
Okay.
For Christ's sake. Come on.
All right. That's a false ending.
No, it's not a false ending. It is what it is. We don't hide behind shit. We don't pretend things didn't happen on this show. Yeah, it happened. We're going to end it on an upswing. Here's the upswing. Have a wonderful Christmas, people.
Oh, I was going
Spend to time with your family. Enjoy the ones you love. Fuck the noise outside. Be with your family. Be with your loved ones. Forget everything going on and just enjoy the day. Enjoy being around people you care about. And I hope Santa brings you everything you want.
There we go. Are you a big Christmas guy? Love Christmas?
I mean, I'm Jewish, or at least I'm not practicing, but I grew up celebrating both. because my grandparents were, they went against the crowd. My grandmother was Jewish. My grandfather was Catholic. They were like, you can't date. And my grandfather was like, go fuck yourself. I'm marrying her. And, we have a dreidel hanging on the Christmas tree. And that's it. We do both. We celebrate Hanukkah. We celebrate Christmas. The fact that I'm born on Christmas Eve kind of makes like we have to celebrate Christmas.
True.
Because I was the greatest Christmas gift of all time.
Yes, I can attest to that.
Maybe one other guy has could stake a claim to that. Whose birthday we actually celebrate.
I don't count him as a Christmas gift. He was the reason we do all of it. It's not really. What are you gonna say? It's the first Christmas gift?
Whatever. I don't know. I don't know anything about anything. All I know is that have a great Christmas, everyone. Enjoy yourselves and take us out.
Yeah. Like you said, hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas. If you don't celebrate, I hope you had a wonderful Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Today's Festivus. I hope you had a great Festivus
for the rest of us.
Yes, of course. Boxing Day. If there's any Australians listening to this, I know that's a thing in Australia.
Are they allowed to listen to us? Are they allowed to do anything?
I don't know. It's pretty rough over there right now, man.
It's like a prison state over there. It's crazy.
I consume a lot of Australian content, which is a very weird thing to say, but like one of my favorite podcasts is a couple Australians and like some people they work with. So I consume a lot of Australian content. They're just like, yeah, this sucks.
Two of my favorite bands are from Australia, and they're just like, this sucks. They're like, we can't tour. We got to cancel shows. Like, this just sucks.
Who are they? If you don't mind.
Carnival and 12-Foot Ninja.
Not familiar with 12-Foot Ninja. I've heard of Carnival though.
12-Foot Ninja is the best way the best comparison would be like if Faith No More and Old School Incubus had a kid, but that doesn't do it justice because it's way stranger than that, but it's awesome.
Interesting.
Let's look that up. They have songs that probably hit on 5 different genres of music and then go back to what everyone thinks they are, which is just a heavy metal band or a hardcore, a hard rock band.
Yeah.
Because they're not really metal. Check them out. And their videos are hysterical.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out. I'm always looking for new music.
Some of the most entertaining videos you'll ever see.
Huh. But yeah, well, on that note, have a happy holidays, everybody.
Yes,
listen to 12-Foot Ninja. Make sure to come back. Yeah, we'll be back next week.
We will most likely be back next week. The holidays have screwed up our schedule. I'm going to do my best to avoid getting injured again.
Please.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's up to Max. If Max wants to beat the hell out of me on Christmas, it is what it is. It's him and his brother that run the house, not me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my house. It's my sister's, but she's not in charge either.
But thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you soon. Shout out Sports War Radio for letting us have the best baseball show on the podcast network. And peace out.